Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We are really excited today to have everyone here. Thanks for taking the time. So good morning to a lot of the folks. Good afternoon and good evening. We have a lot of fun-filled, jam-packed agenda for you today. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to see a demo, and I hope you guys are all excited. My name is Nakul. I'm the head of technology partnerships at SnapLogic. But before we begin the webinar and introduce everyone, I wanted to start with some housekeeping items. Throughout the webinar, please feel free to ask as many questions. There is a question panel on the right side that you'll see. Feel free to add all of your questions in there. We will try to address all of the questions at the end of the presentation. But of course, if we don't get to all of them, I have added some contact information, so you can always reach out to us, and we will answer all of the questions for you guys. There's also an attachments tab. There you will find some helpful assets, some links, some resources. Today we're here to learn a little bit about the AWS Quick Start and how SnapLogic, Agilitium, and AWS have worked on it together. We're also fortunate to have Kaplan that is also going to be presenting with us. So, with that, you can leave a little bit of feedback for us in the feedback tab. We'd really appreciate that for next time and ongoing webinars. With that, I'd love to get started. So, wanted to start with introducing our speakers today. We have Stephen Main from AWS. He's a Partner Solutions Architect. We have Rich Dill from SnapLogic. He's our Enterprise Solutions Architect. We have Tapan Parekh joining us from Kaplan. He's a Director of Data Engineering. And Kaushik, that's joining us from Agilitium. He's a Director of Cloud Data Integration. With that, Stephen, I would love for you to take over. Stephen, on to you.
Cool. The title of this talk is about building a data lake. And one thing that we've learned and we've done research about is that businesses that are able to generate business value from their data are able to outperform their peers. So a 9% increase in organic revenue growth. And this just shows that your data has value. And so you're going to need to put that data somewhere. And that's where the whole idea of this data lake comes in. And it's important that your data lake has a few key characteristics. The security, the scalability, the reliability. Needs to be low cost, and it needs to be easy to use. If you don't have these objects, then you're not going to be able to have a successful data lake. So AWS, we believe, is really the king and the place to hold your data, to have these data lakes. And AWS has several, those items that we showed before. So when it comes to security, we have a world-class team of security experts that are monitoring our system 24/7 to protect customer content. We also have the broadest set of security functionality, whether it's in identity and access management or encryption of those data. We also have the tools to ensure that your compliant workloads can be hosted in a way that makes your auditors happy. So when it comes to security, AWS brings it to the platform. We also, AWS runs the largest global cloud infrastructure. And specifically when we're talking about S3 and the scalability, S3 currently holds trillions of objects, and it regularly peaks at millions of requests per second. So you can be confident that as you grow your data lake, that AWS can meet it from a scalability standpoint. The next thing that we mentioned that you need is that durability, and with that availability. So AWS has designed their regions to have 3 different availability zones, which you can think of as entirely separate data centers. And so each time that you save an object in Amazon S3, we're replicating it 3 times behind the scenes for you. And so that's able to give us this such a high amount of durability, as you see 99 point, all of those nines. And this replication is done for you. It doesn't mean we're charging you 3 times for each object. We do the replication, and that's already included as part of the price. In terms of cost efficiency, we offer several different tiers of storage. Whether you're constantly and frequently operating on data items, you can use something like S3 Standard. For data that maybe you need to keep around only for compliance, keep that in Amazon Glacier and get a much, much lower price. And we've also announced recently that we have a smart tiering program where we'll leverage some artificial intelligence to choose the right storage class for your data. That way you can keep your bill as low as possible while still getting the performance profile that you need. And the last thing that we talked about was that data lakes need to be easy to use. And so traditionally, analytics looked a bit like this. You had relational data from just a few locations. You would load it into a single data warehouse and maybe run some business intelligence on top of that. But a pretty straightforward pipeline. But what we're seeing nowadays is that data lakes are really extending this traditional approach. There's a lot more complexity. There's a lot more relationships between your data. Sometimes your data can be in non-relational or non-structured format. And the amount of data that you have is growing rapidly. And so, AWS and SnapLogic want to help you tackle this problem. And so I'm going to pass it on to Rich so he can talk about how SnapLogic can make this process and this data lake more easy to use.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for giving us some of your valuable time. So let's take a look at this process with the SnapLogic perspective. Nakul, if you would be so kind. Okay, so every place that you see a line that connects a source to a target is a candidate for using the intelligent integration platform, SnapLogic. So you'll see here that whether it's a streaming model, a batch process, triggered task, any volume of data, row at a time or a petabyte at a time, SnapLogic has the ability to consume that data, accept it from some source, to process that data and deliver that data to target at scale with a high degree of reliability without writing boatloads of code and spending huge amounts of money on services and software and everything else that are not a great investment for your business. So why SnapLogic? Next slide, please. So the reason that companies are embracing the cloud and the data lake is because it provides them more visibility into a very valuable asset, customer data, or data in general, operational data, whether it's financial or manufacturing, whether it's marketing or whatnot. It's all around the data. Getting the information into the hands of the individuals who can use that to run the business is a core use case for data lakes and data movement in general. We want to accomplish tasks such as HR onboarding, order to cash, P2P, all of those things. But to get data into the data lake, we have to be able to create integrations that can run at any scale, at any speed, and we want to do that with a platform that is not singular to that task. SnapLogic has a depth and breadth of functionality that allows it to cover a wide range of use cases and capabilities. And the data lake population is just one of the standard things that we do on a daily basis. Companies use SnapLogic because they want results now. They're not willing to wait for days or weeks to be able to get stuff done. They want stuff as quickly as possible. Same day, in a couple of days. When compared to other technologies, the integration time, the ability to fulfill customer requirements, expectations is so much faster using this platform. SnapLogic has proven itself to become a reliable portion of the nervous system for businesses that are doing everything from banking to pharmaceuticals and selling furniture and everything in between. So we are helping businesses run efficiently with incredible security, high degrees of reliability, and the scale that is provided by partners such as Amazon. All right, we're in an age now where companies use dozens, sometimes hundreds of applications to run their business. So the story of the corporation with 1,000 apps is not a fallacy anymore. It's a fact. And so SnapLogic has the ability to leverage the metadata of the endpoint with the artificial intelligence of the platform combined with the smarts of the person sitting in the desk sitting at their computer using this platform. When you combine those three things together, things happen rapidly. You know, when you put an intelligent platform in the hands of smart people, wonderful things happen rapidly. And that's one of the things that we're able to do, whether it's a legacy endpoint from the dark ages of the dinosaurs such as SAP, or whether it's a state-of-the-art application like ServiceNow or Workday. The ability for SnapLogic to support legacy applications, to enable current platforms, and to embrace emerging platforms is a strength of this technology. So past, present, and future in terms of being able to connect to these things. And again, you're doing this with a level of abstraction and productivity that is unmatched in the industry. All right. One of the things that is driving the data-driven organization, the companies that are getting huge valuations because they know so much about their market, their competitors, their opportunities, their customers. So the ability to support modern analytics, just like the data lake is replacing the data warehouse as another, or it's not replacing it, it's supplementing it, I should say. It becomes another locale in the life cycle of data to enable businesses to do discovery, to identify opportunities, to identify problems. So analytics is going through a transformation as well. SnapLogic's leadership in applying artificial intelligence, not only for the use of the platform, but allowing our customers to build that in this same interface is truly amazing. Next slide, please, Nicole. Next slide, please. Thank you. Because to us, data is data is data, all right? And it doesn't matter whether it's in an application interface, a file system, a protocol, an application API. To us, it's just a string of bits and bytes that needs to be captured, processed, and delivered with a high degree of scalability and flexibility. So you'll see here from Adobe to Teva, from Amgen to HBO and Sony. We handle a wide range of resources. So SnapLogic is not a single-purpose tool where you have to go out and buy SnapLogic to do this and then buy 2 or 3 other tools to do everything else you need. SnapLogic presents a unified platform that allows application developers to do application automation, business process automation, using a UI that is productive, intuitive, easy to use, get stuff done. The developer, the user that needs to put gigabytes or petabytes or exabytes of data into their data lake, they use the same user interface, the same look and feel, the same functionality to move data at volume. People that want to put data into their machine learning model can use the same interface to do it. So the common thread for all of our customers is that they've looked at the amount of money that they're spending, the amount of time it takes to get results. They've looked around and said, the current status of our current stack of what we're using is inadequate. We think we can do better. They came to us, and now they are doing better. They're delivering projects now in days, not weeks. And so whether you're selling furniture, insurance, educating the world, manufacturing, high technology, or driving buses, doesn't matter. We have the ability, the reliability, and the ease of use to enable all of these businesses to act in a more proficient and economical manner. Next slide, please. So the common use cases of SnapLogic, we don't do everything in the universe. We have a broad range of use cases and capabilities. But, the things that we do exceptionally well, and we do it with a high degree of productivity. Hybrid application integration. Not everyone is 100% Amazon-based. There are still companies that have some legacy systems that they are migrating to or continuing to execute behind the firewall while they leverage the advantages of the AWS cloud. So until they get to that point where they're 100% cloud-based, the ability for them to support implementations or integrations behind the firewall and do it to support business processes that reside both in the cloud and behind the firewall, that's stock and trade for us. And the amazing way of being able to build these things with a high degree of productivity is amazing. Well, we're talking about the cloud data warehouse today. You're going to see from Tapan how Kaplan has been able to leverage their initiatives around improving their business on multiple dimensions. All right, and I think one of the things that's relevant as you listen to him as the beneficiary of this is that his list of requirements was not just I need to do this. He had a whole series of things that were related to improving the efficiency, improving the availability, improving how they do business. So the cloud data warehouse demonstrates that we have the ability to move data at scale. All right, big data, whether it's S3 or Hadoop, to us, it's just another file system, another place to send or receive or read data from, and the ability for us to do that with EMR and the extended capabilities that Amazon has, again, without huge amounts of effort in terms of expensive consultants, long training cycles. You can basically get into SnapLogic very rapidly. I tell new customers that the learning curve for SnapLogic is something like this. New users are comfortable with SnapLogic in hours. They are productive in days. They are experts in weeks. And the ramp-up time on this platform is just amazing in terms of we've had people build integrations during a 2-day training class. These are people that maybe have spent 5 minutes on our website before they showed up for the class. And, halfway through the second day, they're already building integrations that they can put into use. That is amazing in terms of the productivity and ease of use of this platform. So retiring legacy applications, customers are migrating to Redshift. They're migrating to S3 because it's more economical. It gives them a higher degree of security. It gives them greater visibility and availability of that data. So the ability for customers to migrate from old applications to cloud applications is another attribute that SnapLogic offers its customers. So you have a wide range of uses here that this platform excels at. Last slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so the SnapLogic architecture is based on 3 simple constructs, all right? Just like logging into Redshift or the console, all right, SnapLogic has a self-service UI. If you open up your browser and type in doc.snaplogic.com, you are presented with the product documentation. We're an open book. Our capabilities are feared by our rivals and appreciated by our customers. And it's all right there in black and white for you to learn, to understand, and to benefit from. So the designer, the manager, and the dashboard are an HTML5 browser-based environment that allow you to create your integrations out of the snaps. And the snaps they're works of art from an engineering perspective. They're task-specific software components that abstract the methods of any and all functions that you do in SnapLogic. SnapLogic is a visual programming language where you have a file reader, you have a router, you have a mapper, you have an encoder, you have an encryptor, decryptor, all of the things that you would do where in more primitive technologies you would write code. In SnapLogic, you parameterize a snap, job done, all right? So the snaps are the benefit of the artificial intelligence of SnapLogic, leveraging the metadata available by the source or target, whether it's a file system, a protocol, database interface, whatever metadata is available to us, we will harvest that and present that information to the user. So they're not searching for keys or finding table names. They're presented to them in an easy-to-use, very comprehensible, intuitive environment. Where the jobs run is a function of common sense, regulatory requirements, laws. I mean, data has to stay in country in certain places. So the ability for customers to design an integration while sitting in an office in Bristol, England, or in Hyderabad, India, but yet when they press a button, that job is deployed to a data center, Amazon's data center in Hamburg, Germany, where it executes, it reads a local file, reads a local application, processes the data locally, writes it to a local instance of Redshift. All of that data and all of the log files run inside of the Groundplex, inside the VPC in Hamburg, Germany, isolating the functionality so it is 100% compliant with all the privacy laws that both the EU and Germany have. So the ability for SnapLogic to run in the cloud where it makes sense. If I'm going from ServiceNow to Salesforce, I would use a Cloudplex. If I was going from a local instance of an SAP application, let's say in New York City, and I needed to put that data into Redshift, I would use a Groundplex because I wanted to read a local system and have a secure way of connecting to the Amazon cloud without compromising the security of my infrastructure and exposing valuable corporate assets to harm. Finally, the Extremeplex is a simple SnapLogic way of doing EMR. It offers some amazing capabilities for the customers that need to do, petabyte and exabyte computing at scale for fulfilling their business needs and requirements. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tapan. And, I'm sorry, I have one more. I'm sorry. Unified platform. So as I've mentioned over and over again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, the ability for SnapLogic to support your use cases, whether it's a triggered task for supporting a mobile application, streaming data at scale into the data lake, doing application orchestration, or what's now becoming the phrase application automation. All of these processes and capabilities are possible with a singular environment that supports applications, APIs, protocols, file systems, across the board. So wherever your data is, to wherever it needs to be, without writing loads of code or spending huge amounts of money, that is the value proposition of SnapLogic. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tapan, and you can experience his benefits and his experiences with SnapLogic. So Tapan, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Rich. Hey, everyone. My name is Tapan Parekh. I am the Director of Engineering and Architecture at Kaplan Test Prep. I'm sure people must have heard about Kaplan. So if not, then I can provide like a brief overview. So we are an education test prep company. We were founded in 1938 by Stanley Kaplan here in Brooklyn, New York. And from there, we started off in the garage of Mr. Sandy to help students achieve their education endeavors and their career aspirations. Turned out to be a multi-billion-dollar industry, wherein we got acquired by the Washington Post Company in 1984 up until 2013, where the Post itself was acquired by Mr. Jeff Bezos. So the company got renamed to Graham Holdings. So on a large, if you look at the scale of the company, we are still a publicly traded company where majority of the portfolio or the revenue for Graham Holdings comes from Kaplan. Now within Kaplan, we have expanded into different lines of businesses, starting off obviously with the test prep and then the higher ed, going into English language proficiency, professional education, international outreach, and so on and so forth. We have more than 3,000 faculty members on staff, so we do live online classes, we do in-person facilities that we have throughout U.S. and throughout the world. And now moving more towards a digital trend where we have a lot of videos on demand, as well as streaming live from different studios across U.S. And we train more than 1 million students each year to help achieve their dreams. And we also kind of embed that learning with efficacy and assessment. And so understanding what is best for the student, what will provide the most impact, and not just provide like basic recommendation as to, hey, if you study A, then the next part is to study B. Just to go behind the scenes, there is a lot of learning, there is a lot of data that is involved there, counterintuitive to what we may think about. So just giving you the brief idea, what was it that we wanted to achieve? What was our requirement? How did it all started? So an education market, don't get me wrong, is very competitive. And so in order to survive this and in order to grow our revenues or to diversify our portfolio, our company embarked on a mission to kind of expand our product offerings. And then not only that, we wanted to embed a different sort of machine learning or algorithmic learning as part of the overall curricula or the study plan that we provide to the students. But on the back-end side, we also wanted to consolidate our different systems, both on the business side, on the learning side, or supporting systems, into fewer ones so that we could manage it. Because we as Kaplan had acquired many companies over a period of years, as well as we have expanded, we have diversified, and then we have split. And so, as you can imagine, with any sort of M&A activities, there are a lot of systems that come into play, a lot of duplicate ones. So how do we kind of merge all of these systems together in a meaningful way so that we have one single source of truth coming out for each sort of functionality that we need? We also wanted to optimize our OIs, and so one of the things that we wanted to do is to move away from all the different data centers and move towards more of a cloud-based technology. So we chose AWS as our cloud partner, and so that was one of the requirements, that we wanted to migrate our application systems and our data systems to AWS as well. And then more towards future looking, we wanted to build a platform as a service where we could onboard other businesses or other schools or universities where they could provide their own content and they could use our assessment tools and our reporting solutions to help their own students and their own customers as well, right? So, and completely built out of this microservices based architecture. And with any of that, you require, or any customer would require to track what's going on with them, what's going on with the product, how are the students and how are the customers interacting with it. And so we wanted to track and click every event, and monitor them. And then, basically drive our business purely based on data and analytics. And so what we did was, I know it's a bit of it looks quite overwhelming at first as you look at this platform architecture that we built here. But in a sense, it is kind of similar to what Stephen had mentioned earlier. Is we have all these different systems, as you can see on the left, traditional systems, cloud-based systems, software as a service providers, and then data coming in different formats, different locations, shared between our partners. All of the data gets ingested into Redshift, and we also make a copy onto an S3. So we do an append. We do an upsert on Redshift so that we can do all of our operational reporting and analytics built out of them, and then we do an append on S3 where we could store all the historical information out there. And then there are unstructured or semi-structured data that we also care about in terms of videos, in terms of audio files, as well as some data that we share with our partners. And so we needed that mechanism as well. And then from there, once the data is in Redshift, we kind of build secondary structures on top of it. So anything from creating data marts to aggregated tables to supporting visualization and reporting extracts to just integrating the different systems data together. And then thereby supporting the downstream reporting, application to application integrations. And along with that, we had a bunch of other things that are going on. But for the most part, I think for us, what has helped tremendously to boost our productivity has been to use AWS as a cloud partner, as well as using SnapLogic to help us achieve that integration quickly and efficiently. And what we have done is we have built things modularly onto it, and so every component that you want, you can it's kind of like a plug and play thing. Like you can add error handling, you can add error monitoring, you can add, data quality checks, monitoring, alerting mechanisms. So all of those things can be added very easily, and all of those mostly are built using SnapLogic. And so, we have been very kind of happy about the way it turned out. And what it has given us is different benefits in a way, right? So both from a technical point, we were able to ingest data in any format, very, very quick, very flexible kind of mechanism of replication. We were able to decouple our source schemas and data models. And so we could, the application teams could evolve in a very CI/CD kind of fashion and do multiple deployments in a day. But that would not impact what we have downstream, I think. Right? So that's like a big thing that we wanted to enable. As well as, based on the cost, we could tune the performance and optimize it, right? So if we wanted to run some jobs more frequently, right, say every half an hour, every hour, we could tune it. At the same time, if we wanted some of the systems where, hey, you know what, we don't need so much data coming in from this system so frequently, let's reduce it down, right? So all of those things were basically like a click away for us. And, it comes with this view that, hey, if at any point in time somebody questions the accuracy or the trust of the data, we have the lineage. We were able to monitor every step of the process that we could even document and show it out to others, right? And so from a business point, it helped us build that trust with all the different departments and OUs that are existing in our company, as well as give us a big financial boost by reducing the infrastructure costs by partnering both with AWS and SnapLogic by almost 70%. And now that in itself is a big, big number. And at the same time, the whole implementation, the architecture that I showed you, didn't take that long for us to implement, right? We designed templates, and based on those templates, any new systems that needed to be ingested, any new sort of similar transforms that needed to be built were kind of built using that. And so that gave us freedom to innovate, freedom to try out new things, freedom to try and see if we hit a roadblock, what is the best solution that we can achieve. And so, what is it that we want to do next is basically add more systems, implement automation wherever possible, and then maybe add search across the board for our platform. And so, that's how our journey. I think we have been very fortunate to achieve all of these technological endeavors, by utilizing great partners from both AWS and SnapLogic, and then mainly by having really smart and passionate in-house data engineers. But I think for everyone else out there, if they're starting kind of new, or they are somewhere in this journey where they are evaluating some of these tools, I would definitely say to consider or give a shot to it. At the same time, you also have a better option available to you is to use maybe Agilitium as your potential implementation partner. So I think, this has been a great journey for us, and I think it would be great for all of you guys as well. So with that, I will pass it back to Nakul. You?
Thank you, Tapan. Really appreciate that. Awesome. So far, I just wanted to take a minute and do a little bit of summary, and then we're going to jump into a demo. But so far, Stephen from AWS had an opportunity to showcase, what we're seeing out there with building a data lake and why you should choose Redshift and AWS as your chosen platform. We heard from Rich a little bit about why SnapLogic can make that very easy to grasp, and from a technology standpoint, a chosen platform to do so. And then a little bit from Tapan from Kaplan on his experience and his journey on using AWS SnapLogic and what they've done so far and what they continue to wanting to do. So really appreciate all of our speakers speaking about the topic. And now I think we're going to take a minute and jump into a demo. So Kaushik from Agilitium is going to walk us through a short demo where you'll see how the AWS Quick Start solution can be leveraged for your organization to make this easy and simple to get to build a data lake. So off to you, Kaushik. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nakul and Tapan. And good morning, everyone. So I head the cloud data integration practice here at Agilysym. And Agilysym is a systems integrator specializing in cloud and big data solutioning. And we are based out of LA with global presence. So far, I've had the opportunity to work leading pharma, media, entertainment, and whole load of other clients in the cloud data integration space, building data lakes for them to the order of petabytes. And during that time, we were able to gain significant knowledge on the typical challenges faced by our clients, especially when they try to modernize their analytics stack. And also, we've been able to figure out on how to overcome them. So, adding on to what Tapan shared regarding how a SnapLogic-based data lake is set up in real world, today I would like to share some of these observations, and we can also show you a demo of the Quick Start solution developed by Agilysym, which can alleviate some of these issues. In fact, even a few months ago, while we were working with a media client, Agilysym was tasked in setting up a SnapLogic-based data lake on AWS. And this involved migrating about petabyte scale of data to the cloud. What we observed where our clients consistently struggle is in finding that right expertise, setting up this entire environment with multiple services that are required to build an efficient data lake, and very importantly, complying with the architecture best practices, which many a times it takes several weeks to do. Well, some of our clients seem to be at ease with this situation, but that holds good as long as the pressure is not mounting on them. But I'm pretty much sure that you will agree with me when I say it isn't the case anymore with most of the organizations. Businesses typically today need to experiment and show results very quickly. And moreover, with the shrinking IT budgets, unavailability of experts when you need them, and the heavy dependency on the IT department, businesses they're not able to keep up with the competition. So as an organization, while we were trying to explore options on how to reduce this effort, we found that the AWS Quick Start solution to be an ideal fit for this purpose. So what I would like to do in the next 10 to about 15 minutes is to walk you through the Quick Start and also show you how to build data pipelines easily using SnapLogic. The slide here shows the overall solution architecture, which should give you an idea of the key services that is used by the Quick Start solution. So you can see the S3 forms the data lake layer, Redshift the data warehouse layer, and the data integration completely performed by SnapLogic. Next, let's go to the AWS Quick Start page from where we'll be able to set up the environment. What you see here is the Quick Start page, which covers the details that are necessary for you to understand how the Quick Start works, the architecture, prerequisites, and other key components. What you see on the right is how the infrastructure will be set up in AWS once we run the Quick Start. To just give you an overview of the architecture, the VPC basically spans across two availability zones with two-tier architecture for public and private subnets. On the public subnet, you can see the NAT gateway and Bastion host configured. To protect the customer data, we place the Redshift nodes on the private subnet. And also the SnapLogic GroundPlex server also sits on the private subnet. We also have many optional services that can be also used to enforce a bit of governance that is necessary while we build an efficient data lake architecture. This can include monitoring services like CloudWatch, CloudTrail, etc., And even if you have any visualization requirements, you can leverage services like QuickSight. Now coming back to the GroundPlex server, this is nothing but an EC2 instance that will have the SnapLogic services installed, which interacts with the SnapLogic control plane via the NAT gateway. This especially is applicable during the data pipeline processing. The Bastion host basically only provides the access to private resources to perform any administrative tasks that are necessary to be done, especially on GroundPlex servers. And both the Bastion host and the GroundPlex servers are tied to their own auto-scaling group, which provides a bit of scalability and auto-healing options. I'm pretty sure that at this point there will be many questions. I would request you to note them down, and we can address that during the Q&A session. And finally, given here is the link to the deployment guide, which will also give you all the details that are necessary for you to understand the solution, how do we host it, the parameter configuration, and so on. The critical piece here is that how do we deploy the solution, right? So it has 6 steps, and in order to deploy the Quick Start, any user would need an AWS account, and in this case a SnapLogic account as well. A user can use this link, this hyperlink, which would redirect you to the SnapLogic trial page, from where you can sign up for the trial. And doing so, you would also receive a SnapLogic GroundPlex configuration file, which is essential to set up the GroundPlex on an EC2 instance. And there are a couple of steps over here which you can use to place that GroundPlex configuration file, or the SL-props file as they call it, into an private S3 bucket. After that, there are a couple of options on how you would like to deploy this solution. Either you could deploy this entire stack on a new VPC, or you can deploy this into an existing VPC, depending on your requirement. So each of these links will take you directly to the CloudFormation page, where you can kickstart this entire deployment process. But we have also seen customers where they would want to download this entire code base into their S3 bucket, which you can do so using this link. To kickstart the CFD deployment, first you will have to copy the object URL of the CloudFormation master template, which I'm doing right now. And then we need to move on to the CloudFormation service, where we'll have to click create stack and copy over the URL. And once we click next, we'll have to give the stack a name, followed by the availability zones, which you can select. So we're kind of selecting a couple of availability zones right now. And rest of the configuration parameters, there is the default setting that has been provided here. However, this can be further customized as per requirement. And we also have to provide a remote access CIDR range here. This is basically for you to connect the Bastion host from your local system. Moving on to the sizing configurations. First, we need to provide an existing key pair. After that, we will have to select the instance type for the SnapLogic GroundPlex, which you can select from the list of instance types here. You can now select the most appropriate one and followed by the instance type for the Bastion host as well. Well, let me select T2 micro for this one. Then we can configure the number of Bastion hosts. Then the node type and the number of nodes for the Redshift components as well. Then we need to provide the auto scaling configuration, where we mention the desired and the maximum number of nodes that are required for the auto scaling. For the Redshift configuration, we can mention an existing host name or leave it blank if you want to, or if you'd like to create a new one, followed by the credentials that are required for configuring the Redshift cluster along with the database name. Here we should key in the license bucket where we had the SL proxy file, the configuration file I mean, and the configuration path as well. So once we enter all these details, we are ready to go to the next step, where we can optionally tag resources. We are leaving it blank for this demo. Let's click next. And here you can completely review all the configuration settings that you have made up. And this will help you review the configuration settings to spin up the entire environment. So let's click create stack, and from here this will kickstart the deployment, and I'm going to do that right now. So as you can see, the stack is getting created for these services one by one, and you will see that it is in progress as you refresh the screen. So this will take about a few minutes to spin up all the components that are required as part of this quick start. And within those few minutes, whatever you need, the core services that you need for your data lake solution for SnapLogic and AWS will be up and running. So let's now check out if the stack has got created properly. As you can see, the stack is now up and running and it shows that it is completed. Let's quickly review whether the corresponding AWS services have also got created. First, let's start with the EC2 instances. Over here, you would see a couple of instances, one for the Bastion host, the other for the GroundPlex server for SnapLogic. And you could also see some of the security groups have also got created to allow the required traffic. Let's move to the VPC. It's good. And the corresponding subnets within the VPC. You can see that there are 4 subnets created, 2 each for the availability zone, the public and the private subnets, which are also fine. And these are the NAT gateways that are also configured and created. So all the required services have been created, and a final check on the Redshift cluster, which is also up and running, as you can see. So the quick start solution has deployed all the AWS services. Let's also quickly verify whether the GroundPlex EC2 instance has started to interact with the SnapLogic control plane. And here you go, in the dashboard the demo node is up and running. So just like that, within minutes, as you can see, in a typical cloud data lake environment, if you see, it's just like a dev environment is up and running, all good to go. The quick start solution additionally comes with the sample use case and a data set, where we built a SnapLogic pipeline which helps users to kind of test and explore sample scenarios. The pipeline has some key sections where it reads data from a data set and loads into S3 after a bit of cleansing operations, and it also loads the data into Redshift as well. This typically is in line with the very basic use case of loading data into a data lake and a data warehouse. Additionally, the pipeline has an audit section which keeps track of all the jobs that have been completed with the status, records loaded, and so on. Let's now run this pipeline on the demo GroundPlex that we created, and this will take a few seconds to run. And yes, so we have the run completed. So let's quickly verify if the data has got loaded into the Redshift table. So let's run a select star, and you can see that the data has also got populated in the table as well. So this actually gives an overview of how SnapLogic can be used to build data pipelines and accelerate your data lake initiatives. Moreover, on the left, as you can see, SnapLogic provides various snap packs to suit different requirements based on source and target system needs. As an example, the Redshift Snapback has a list of insert and update snaps, which helps to build different scenarios for Redshift. So you can explore this further, and SnapLogic provides an easy-to-use interface with drag-drop capability to quickly build data pipelines and further accelerate any solution initiatives towards cloud, data lake, and data warehouse. So this concludes the demo session, and I would really like to thank you all for listening to me patiently. So, Nakul, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kaushik. Really, really appreciate that. That was a great demo, and it really puts everything in perspective that we've really talked about today with AWS, SnapLogic, and then what Tapan from Kaplan was talking about, and then you showcasing some of the capabilities on how easy it really is to build a data lake on AWS. So I wanted to spend a few minutes answering some of the questions from the audience. So the first question that we had was, when people think ETL, they think Informatica. When they think iPaaS, they think MuleSoft. How does Snap address this? Rich, would you like to take that question, please?
Sure. Thanks for that. Well, they view Informatica as a legacy ETL platform. The functionality that SnapLogic has offered in terms of hybrid cloud integration offers a high degree of flexibility, cost effectiveness, and functionality that their cloud offerings don't have. So they're strong in the legacy stuff, but we clearly have a superior solution as proven by customer adoption of SnapLogic as customers move to the cloud. As far as the ESB thing, developers who have struggled with building an ESB transaction model against heterogeneous sources have struggled mightily with the fact that the ESB archetype is alien to the cloud environment. Cloud APIs, cloud interactions, cloud applications, cloud databases, for the most part, use a RESTful interface. It's a stateless environment. And when you try and build an ESB model in the cloud, the analogy of square peg, round hole, really big hammer is how you make it work. That's why it's so difficult for companies to deploy the ESB model in the cloud, because you just have to do so much manual labor, which kind of defeats the purpose of efficiency and capability. Next question.
All right, so the next question is, does SnapLogic come with automated machine learning capability?
Yes, I mean, it's a core capability. Iris is our underlying engine, which does things as simple as suggest the next snap, but it also provides analysis of behavior patterns for users. So one of the features that we added in last week's release 4.18 is now Iris will not only suggest a snap in building an integration, but if you were to put up, let's say, a Workday snap and an Oracle snap on the canvas and ask for a suggestion, Iris would go in and she would do analysis of your catalog, the community site, all of the pipelines that have been built that you have access to within your organization, and she would suggest, oh, well, you might want to start with this, or this pattern. So we are leading the way in terms of applying artificial intelligence and machine learning to the productivity of not only the user of SnapLogic, but the consumer of the models that we're building as well. For more information, go to labs.snaplogic.com, and you can see the kinds of AI models that have been built using SnapLogic.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question is for Kaushik from Agilicium. Can the Quick Start solution be customized to the organization's infrastructure's best practices?
Yeah, thanks, Nakul. I'll take that. So the answer is yes. Already, the one that has been built is as per the AWS Best Well Architect framework. And if there are any specific policy guidelines and any kind of specific requirements, the Quick Start, the CFD automation within it can be precisely configured to take up those specific requirements as well. So to answer the question, it's more like it is customizable to specific needs.
Perfect. And then one more for you, Kaushik. Will the Quick Start solution align with to the existing customer's environment data warehouse like AWS Redshift or Snowflake or any other?
Yep. So as well, when it comes to Quick Start, it's all about how we can deliver an end-to-end solution between SnapLogic and within the AWS platform. But if there are any specific requirements where we want to have, say, a data warehouse on SQL Server, hosted on RDS service or Oracle for that matter, it can also be kind of considered in terms of the customization. So I think this should be also be able to we would be able to pick it up.
Excellent. Okay, and one more for Rich. How do we use Power BI with SnapLogic? I'm assuming Power Business Intelligence with SnapLogic.
Well, as an AI tool, as an analytics tool, it is reading the results of the acquisition, processing, and delivery of data to a repository. Power BI is for analytics. SnapLogic facilitates the analysis because it accesses the data, processes the data, and delivers the data to a locale where it can be consumed by BI tools.
Perfect.
That answer
all right, guys. Yeah, it does. No, thank you. All right, and in interest of time, I just wanted to share one last slide, which is the resources slide. So for everybody that's on the phone, I'm sure you guys may have more questions. Please feel free to reach out to the partner team at SnapLogic. Here's the email address. And then if you have any specific questions to Agilitium or Kaushik's demo, feel free to also reach out to them. And apart from the contact information, I did want to add a couple of resource links. The AWS Quick Start page that is also part of the attachments and link will give you a full holistic picture of what you saw today. It also has the deployment guide, and it also has a link to how you can quickly get started with the free trial, and you can sign up for SnapLogic free trial just by going on to snaplogic.com as well. So with that, I really, really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for coming today. We're fortunate to have a great audience, and we look forward to our next webinar and hope you can attend the next one. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day.